Hi there, you are on board the J109 Superstition, somewhere off of Tinker's Island up in Marblehead for the 2013 Lambert Ocean Race. This is Chris Sabello. I'm the skipper, driver, guy turning the wheel in the back of the video. We've got about a minute and 10 seconds until the start of our race. It's an ocean race today. We're going to start up by Tinker's Rock Gong, head down towards the Boston Channel, go around Moe there, head on up to Foster, behind Baker's Island, and back to the finish. There's our 1 minute warning right there. And we are reaching on port down the line. All the other boats are ahead of us, and right now at this point, our goal is really to lead the fleet back to the pin. The wind's a little bit to the left, so I figure we'll lead them a little back to the pin. Good lane, and in pretty good position to do so. Reaching down the line pretty quickly. With speed, we're looking. We got a couple boats coming back towards us. There's a Beneteau 367 or another J109. Should be headed our way. You can see those guys right below our Genoa right now. So as we get close, within a few boat lengths, we tack on over. You can see the fleet there clustered by the race committee. And we're just going to lead these guys on back. Down below us at some point here is a green mark somewhere, which should be our pin. And we're coming up, and our start is right about there. So a little low. Would have liked to have, I guess, been over and on starboard a little bit earlier, but you know what? We're cruising along now. We're up to close hauled, and we're working our way on up the first beat. First beat's a pretty long leg to the first mark. It's about 8 miles, as I recall. And the starboard tack's definitely favored. Not too far off the rumble line being the starboard tack here. And the wind starting out about 14 knots and is supposed to build. One thing I would have liked to have done a lot better here at the start would have been to have had our sails really tuned for the wind conditions. We had a long break in between going out and tuning up and the race starting, and I think we kind of got off knowing where the sails were. So I had just gone on with a little backstay there. Kevin comes down, and after just testing the jib halyard first to make sure the handle fits, heads on down to the main halyard. I'm going to add a little main halyard to try to get some of those wrinkles out of the main. So I think that definitely could have been one thing better. What we noticed was here on the first beat, we were the boat at the pin, kind of leading the fleet out, but we were sailing a little bit lower than the other J109, and it really took us a while to get in a groove. Kind of struggling a little bit with getting the rig tune exactly right, and that definitely showed here. So we worked our way up. Some of the other fleet tacked over to head over to the right. So once a few of them had gone, we tacked to follow them, and also to cross a couple of the boats that were still on starboard tack coming on up. And you can see most of the fleet down there below the Jenny, the guys that were headed back over to the right, a couple of the boats that are coming up here to the left that we're going to cross pretty easily. And the boat's going pretty well. Like I said, we get about 14 knots of true breeze. We're pretty much in the 6.7 to 6.9 range most of the time. We seem to be tacking through about 80 degrees or so with the Genoa, so it's pretty good. Working the backstay to keep the boat flat. Seems like there's a little less speed on this tack than there was on the starboard tack, and sometimes it's just a matter of me needing to stick the bow down a little and really get the boat going. So we worked our way up here. I think you can see down below the Jenny, that's probably Heat Wave, who is leading right now, and we're getting ready to tack. Come into a little bit of a header here, so I figure, hey, we'll tack on over. We'll be on the lift on the other tack. Life should be pretty good. The A fleet leaders seem to kind of be stretching out a little bit to the left. We've got that big barge or tanker that you can kind of see right behind Jerome. Jerome's my mainsail trimmer with the red hat and the very, very bright jacket there. Who else do we have on board today? We have Kevin trimming on the jib, Steve and Pitt, Big Jim on the spinnaker. We have Teresa on mast, Kim as our squirrel, and KK up on the bow. So lovely day, very warm, supposed to be breezy, supposed to build quite a bit. They're talking about stuff in the high 20s later on, potential for some weather coming in, so got to get the boat back to Boston at some point. But right now it is quite lovely here, and we are cranking on along and headed upwind. So as we're headed on up here, we're getting a nice lift. Life is pretty good. Breeze continues to build a little bit. We start to get a little bit more. You can see the boat's heeled over some more. You can really see the red on the wheel is pretty low now. The red's the top dead center, so I've got a lot of helm on there, which means, of course, I'm fighting it a little and we're slowing it down. So I say to Kevin, hey, I want to put on some backstay. We add some more backstay. He heads on down low because we're going to need to trim in that jib a little bit. The main needs to get an adjustment going on there, so we try to play that pretty well. We're far enough away from that big tanker that we're really not going to get its wind shadow. So we've been going up, and it seems to be a pretty good lift and all that, but we're pretty much the farthest boat to the left, and what we've seen is the wind clicking a little bit to the right. And that's never a good thing when you're the boat furthest to the left. I have to admit, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at where the wind was supposed to trend as far as direction this morning. I probably should have paid a little more attention. So now we're kind of realizing, we're pretty far to the left. Let's head back there to the right a little bit. We've been waiting for a little bit of a knock, but we're still up probably about 10 or 15 degrees from where we were originally. So there's definitely been a good click to the right. So the boats that were pretty far to the right are going to get some pretty good leverage on us, unfortunately. What can you do? So I guess those are the two things in the upwind I really noticed. I was not thinking about whether it was a oscillating or persistent shift. I should have spent more time thinking about that, especially in a long race like this. And secondly was really having the sails kind of dialed in to be right off the line, so we'd be able to stay up nice and high, and that would have caused some other people to have to deal with us in the position we were in. So we're headed up now. I think that boat that you see again down below the jib, kind of far off on the horizon, I think that was Heat Wave, and they were definitely sailing a really terrific race. They seemed to have really good speed and an extra couple degrees on us, and we're sailing pretty well in phase and went pretty far to the right, so that worked out well. So we head up a bit, and now we're probably about 3/4 of a mile away from the mark. As we tack over, I think you can barely see some of the A-boats going around the mark in front of us. And it's pretty far to call the ley line. I figured we were pretty much short of it, but rather than going another 20 boat lengths and overstanding, I figured we'd tack. Who knows, if we get a little more variety, we'd lay the mark. If not, we would come in and do a tack set. Right now you can see the mark. Oh, it just went below the Genoa. So we're kind of nice and high on it. The light's looking pretty good right now. But sadly, we slide on down. That's the mark now behind me. And you can see the first boat, Heat Wave, has gone around the mark, and they're getting ready to set their spinnaker. And there's another boat, the Beneteau 367 Sojourn, is also between us and the mark. So we go right out, pretty much the port ley line. I probably should have gone a couple more boat lengths to come in so we could do a really traditional tack set, but I went a little short of Gary here as he was doing his set, and we tacked on over. Now you can see Sojourn coming into the mark on the starboard ley line. So we tack on over the port, head on up to close hauled, and we're going to come in on the port ley line and pretty much do a tack set. So we get ready to go to the pre-feed here. Kevin's still trimming the jib. And because we're coming in on this, Steve's going to work with KK, so we take up the slack on the halyard, get that free from the shrouds and ready to go. KK moves forward and opens up the hatch, grabs the tack line, and we pre-feed the tack line. We get a nice little mark right through it, so that once we get to that point we can set it. And she pulls it forward, and we go out in the bowsprit. And the key at this point is for her to keep that sail down on the deck so that it doesn't get filled with wind and twisting around and all that good stuff. So Steve's got the that all pre-fed, and we're rolling on up here. And Kevin is going to do the release and the tack in on the Genoa. Oh, actually, it looks like Steve's going to do the pull in on the tack. Okay. So I guess that's because I was about a boat length and a half low of the mark. So come on up, tack on over, and you can see the mark just down below us. There it is, red and white, ready to go. We've got Jim all set up on the can. Coming in the mark, we sneak up a little, about a boat length away, and we hoist it about a boat length away. There's our mark, and we trim in. So right as the ass of the boat gets to the mark, we're trimming on the kite. Pretty happy with that for a nice hoist. Roll up our Jenny. Take off my hat so I can feel the downwind breeze. We're going to ease the main halyard to about a good 6 inches. We had tons of backstay and lots of halyard tension, and trying to be kind on that main. So once we have that done, I'll ease off the backstay. We're going to go and fracculate the rig. Teresa has eased the outhaul, and she's back in the boom looking for any sort of puffs. And we are starting to work our way on downwind here. So as we're cruising down, we now see just behind Jim, who's trimming the spinnaker, you can see Sojourn, the Beneteau 367. Like many other boats in the Mass Bay fleet, Sojourn has decided to ditch the spinnaker pole and the symmetrical and seems to have gone to some sort of bowsprit configuration with an ASIM. So this was something new. I guess I know why their rating went up to 78. But we seem to be sailing pretty fast and quite a bit deeper than those guys with our ASIM. And here we are. Costume change. Obviously, it's a little warmer going downwind, so I think I pulled off my jacket. Jim did. Jerome did. All getting naked and funky. Good stuff. But we are sailing nice and deep and with good speed and passing Sojourn to leeward. Gary in the 109 is ahead of us, and on this tack we seem to be catching up a little bit on him. Still sailing with good depth and seem to be reeling him in a bit, but he was a good, good almost 2 minutes. Well, is it 2 minutes? Pretty close to 2 minutes ahead of us at that top mark. So we're trying to work it aggressively. Crank it on down. We're looking on the course, and most of the A-boats have jibed ahead of us and headed in closer to shore, and it seems to look a little lighter up ahead of us. Now, hindsight being 2020, maybe we should have jibed a little earlier on this and tried to lead the boat ahead of us, but you can now hear the waves have come down, the wind's come down a little. Now we're thinking, yeah, there's definitely looks like there's more pressure over to the right side of the course, so we're going to get set up to do a jibe here. So for our jibes, typically, I'll heat up a little just so we can stabilize the kite, get good speed. Jim hands off the sheet to Steve. Steve's looking forward, easing that kite. I'm watching as they pull back. I'm turning down as they get that around the forestay and towards the shrouds. I complete my turn. Jim gets that kite to fill, gives a little ease, and we get all of our weight back up on the high side, get the boat rocking on along. So when we're going downwind, I think we were maybe like 50 to 55 degrees when we were on starboard jibe. Right now we're at about 10 degrees or so when we're on port jibe. So we're jibing through 40, 45 degrees. Breeze has really started to come up. Now we're seeing it's like, was 14, 15, 16. Now we're seeing 18, 19. There are white caps forming behind us. We've worked down for a pretty long time now. And again, Gary and Heat Wave is on the same jibe ahead of us. We do see good pressure we've come into. So we figure, hey, we'll kind of follow this pressure down, jibe a little bit earlier, try to ride this down, see what happens here. So we get set up, and here comes another jibe for us. And head it on down, nice turn, kite pops on through, go back up, and off we go. And then this is a new feature that we have here. Kevin has gone with the armpit cam for us, something a little different. So I edited a bunch of that out, but it was very compelling filming. And then at some point, we're off on the armpit cam, and got a little different angle, less of the crew trimming, and I suppose more of my my ass and eventually bald spots. That's not too good either. What can you do? So anyway, we're headed out a little bit. At this point, Steve realizes, oh, hey, that's the wrong camera angle. So he comes back, gets a shot set up a little better there. Takes a look back, does another little kind of Woody Allen adjustment. Oh, third time's a charm. There we go. So we're rolling on along, headed up towards Eastern Point. This is a pretty long leg. I think it's 12 or 13 miles in total that we had going. And the breeze behind us has really built at this point. We're pretty much seeing high teens, getting close to 20. So we're thinking it's time to take the Jenny down and get the jib ready for the next leg that we're going to have, which is going to be a close reach, close hauled, and then a beat to the finish. So come up a little, settle down the kite, pop out the Jenny, try to get it trimmed in nice and hard to get it on the deck. And as soon as we've got it all the way out off the roller furling, we blow that halyard and start pulling down on the leech and sliding that kite right on down. Jim's doing a good job keeping the kite nice and stable as we go here. And we're headed on down. And again here we're probably at about 50 degrees, sometimes 45, sometimes 50. Our mark originally was at about 40 degrees from the previous mark. So we're not too high above the ley line. So that's good. But as we go down and the breeze does keep coming up, it does click a little bit more to the right. So it is giving us a little bit of a lift. And then we come out of it, there's a little bit of a header, kind of back and forth. It's mostly velocity stuff. So anyway, we got the Genoa down, rolled it up, put it down below, brought the jib up, got it all in place. And generally we like to get the jib up and furled up before we get to the mark. So we're going to do a hoist here. Now one thing is I do have a little tear in the luff here. So as we get it up, we get that little tear, we slow down for a second to make sure that we can get it fed in and not tear that anymore. So we're kind of feeding that. That's why we stop here for a second. Okay, so once she has it, then we keep on going and we crank the sucker right on up. And once we get it all the way up, we furl it on up. A couple reasons for doing this. First of all, it's kind of our standard thing. It's just popping it out at the mark, so we don't want to have to deal with a different set at the mark. We can get the halyard all set. And then the final thing is, by having that furled around the forestay, we don't have to worry about getting any sort of wrap with the kite. Now, one thing is, when we went to go wrap it up, we didn't keep enough pressure on that sail. So now we got to pull it out a little bit, get a little pressure on it, and then roll it back up. So it's nice and tight there. But by having that extra size around the forestay, if the kite hits it, it tends not to get wrapped. We had a bad experience with a forestay with no jib around it once. We got that kite wrapped. Oh my goodness, it took us forever to get that down. So anyway, we're all wrapped up, new sail, didn't lose too much to do that. Nicely done by the crew. So, sad thing is, this battery only lasted 2.5 hours, and the race was another 2 hours beyond that, so you're going to miss the next few legs. At the end of the day, we sailed, it was a 28.4 mile course. We did it in 4 hours and some odd minutes. Sadly, we were 3 minutes and change behind Heatwave, who sailed one heck of a race. He sailed very, very well, did a great job. But we did finish, unlike a bunch of the boats. Kind of beat the crew senseless, but they responded well, and there were Coronas that were cold afterwards, so that's always good. So that's it for the Lambert for 2013. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you soon.